Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Thrilled and amazed to be chatting with the fabulous Adrian Vandenberg this afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
New Vandenberg album coming out May 29th on Mascot Records. This is the first true Vandenberg album since 1985. You've got to be thrilled to get this out, Adrian.
Oh yeah, I'm very thrilled. It's a strange thing, actually. You know, I've been busy touring and recording and everything, and suddenly I'm thrown into a situation where I revamped my old Vandenberg name, but with a brand new lineup with a couple of amazing guys and a record that I'm really proud of. So I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I'm really excited.
I can tell. As you said, this is the turbocharged version of Vandenberg.
Yeah, it is. With extra kerosene
in the turbochargers. Ronnie Romero singing on this album. How did you hook up with Ronnie?
Well, about 5 years ago, I read somewhere that Richie Blakemore wanted to do a bunch of shows as Rainbow and playing those songs and some of the Purple stuff. And I thought, wow, who the hell is going to sing, you know? Because, as you all know, unfortunately, Ronnie James Dio passed away. So I checked on YouTube and I saw Ronnie Romero sing amazingly. He blew me away. So when I decided to start recording under the name of Vandenberg again, and I got in touch with Ronnie, because for me, you know, working under the name Vandenberg only made sense if it would not be a nostalgic thing, but when I would find an amazing singer and put together a kick-ass lineup, then it would make sense to me to work under a name with a heritage. So when Ronnie responded really enthusiastically when I approached him, for me everything fell together. I thought, you know, this is going to be great, and it really inspired me to write the songs tailored to his vocal capabilities and his vocal style. And that's when all these songs came together in a matter of 2 months or something, and before we knew it, we were in the studio recording this album.
So were these songs all totally fresh ideas, or was it from anything you had in the can from past, or just totally new stuff?
Yeah, it's totally new stuff, but as you can probably hear, you know, my influences have always been firmly rooted into the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, and I always aimed to write a record that I would rush out and buy myself immediately. So you could almost call it like an egotistical way of working, because I miss this kind of music all the time. You know, I just love all my classic records, all the way back to Cream and Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Rainbow, and all the stuff in between then and now. You know, so what I try to do is make a record where you can hear that where the roots are from, but at the same time make it sound very contemporary, like crisp and loud and in your face, like a record from 2020.
Right. And that you definitely have. I've heard an advanced copy, and I got a couple questions on a couple of songs. But first, help me out with your bass player and drummer's names. I do not want to mispronounce them.
Yeah, it's Dutch. Yeah, we've got a pretty clumsy language for people to try to pronounce. The first name of the bass player is easy, of course, Randy, and his family name is Vander Elven.
Okay.
And that's already pretty complicated, I suppose. I mean, even in Holland, it's a long family name. The drummer is called Koon, Herfst, and Herfst means autumn in Dutch. And Koon is an abbreviation of Conrad in Dutch. And the way, you know, it's got it's probably a weird name for American and English people. So are all the names. Adrian Vandenberg is probably doable, you know, but yeah, Randy Van Elzen, man, you guys are in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I also read that Rudy Sarzo and Brian Tichy appeared on the album. Did they just do a few songs, or these gentlemen played on the album as well? How did that all go? I was a little confused with all that.
Yeah, it may seem a little confusing. They play on two.
Oops.
Fine.
Adrian, you were about to tell me the two tracks that Brian Tisci and Rudy Sarzo played on the album.
Yeah, they played on the songs Shout and Shitstorm.
Okay, very cool. And you obviously have worked with them in the past, correct?
Yeah, Rudy, I go way back actually. When Vandenberg started headlining after having toured with Ozzy Osbourne for 4 or 5 months, when we started headlining on a couple of the shows, Quiet Riot was opening up for us.
Really?
And that's when I met Rudy for the first time.
Okay.
We couldn't have expected to end up together in Whitesnake a couple of years later.
Right.
And we've always stayed in touch, you know. We've got a great, valuable friendship. And Brian, I know Brian from getting up on stage whenever Whitesnake played in Holland or in the area, and I always get up on stage and play a couple of songs with him, you know. And Brian was touring with them for a couple of times, and that's how we know them.
Okay. Thinking back on it now, that was actually quite a foolish question. Obviously, you've worked with Rudy and Whitesnake. I guess I was thinking along the lines of Brian. So, you know, I'm thinking, of course, that was really a dumb question. But anyway.
No, it's okay. I was hearing the life of Brian, you know, that's like one of my favorite Monty Python songs.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
But it's okay.
It's funny you mentioned them playing on Shout, because that was one song I kind of highlighted. To me, the lyrics, of course, were inspiring and upbeat. The music, to me, I like to ask artists this just to see if I've even got a clue, because most times I play no instruments. The only thing I can do is talk and play CDs, but I try and pick up on things.
Well, sounds good.
To me, the music had sort of a dark vibe to it, sort of dark colorings to it, and I noticed the solo was almost Vivian Campbell-like. Am I even in the ballpark with that?
On the song Shout, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. I never thought about it that way, you know. So, well, I've played with Vivian. I've toured with Vivian for about a year and a half. So, who knows? Maybe he left a little bit of a souvenir in my mind somewhere.
Yeah. It almost had a Dio-like feel to it. I felt that track. I thought it was really good.
Great. A great man, because I'm a huge fan of Dio.
All right. And then Hell and High Water, that main riff, I have titled Infectious, and I really like the drumming on that track as well. Can you give me a little bit of background on Hell and High Water?
Yeah, when I started writing the Hell and High Water, I was hoping for it to turn out into one of those long epic songs that kind of keep you away from the outside world, you know, where you get sucked up in a song, or just like you would get sucked up in a movie or in a book or something. And it started growing on me whenever I thought I had it almost finished, and then for some reason I felt like there needed to be another color, so to speak, in the song, and it kept growing until it is what it is now. And like you noticed, I'm really impressed by Cohen's drumming on that song. It's like the best of John Bonham and Ian Pace and Cozy Powell all in one person, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just really happy I found Cohen, because I didn't know him personally. And later on I found out he was voted best rock drummer in Holland already for 7 years in a row.
Wow.
So I was basically pissed off at myself that I didn't know him yet, you know?
Mm-hmm. And then today you released the lyric video for Skyfall. I checked a couple hours ago, and it had been up for about 8 hours. I already had like 3,000 views. That's got to be incredible for someone who, you know, back in the day in the 80s, say even with the Whitesnake album, when you released it, you had to hope MTV would pick up, you know, the video, radio would play the song.
Yeah.
Now you put out a video, and it's worldwide, there, instantaneous. It's got to be amazing to transition.
It is, and you know, it's got a lot of advantages that you can communicate with your fans through the internet. You know, on my Facebook pages, I try to answer a lot of questions as much as I can. I read all the messages, and it takes me a couple of hours a day in the morning with a couple of cups of coffee. But I really enjoy it because in the early days, you couldn't really tell what went on with the fans, because they buy a record and they show up at the shows, but you couldn't really communicate with them close and at the same time on a distance like right now, So I do really value that because I love to know what goes on, in the world and with the fans and what people do and what they like or don't like about your record or your music or whatever.
Yeah. Does this sort of take you back to when you were a young man waiting in the rain to meet Rory Gallagher after a show and he come out and just totally...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly, and when I did wait in the rain for Rory Gallagher, like you mentioned, I was so impressed that he came out and took his time to stand with a little teenager covered in zits wanting to know about his guitar, that... I realized back then, that if I would ever be a professional player, that I would definitely take my time to stay in touch with the fans, and because those are the people that put you where you are,
Right, definitely.
And I never really understand why some artists or a lot of artists actually kind of ignore the fans or don't treat them with a lot of respect, I never really get it.
Yeah, I agree. I also read that as a youngster, at times you were bedridden with severe migraines, and it was Jimi Hendrix of Wind Cries Mary that kind of soothed you and took care of you through some of those times.
Yeah, definitely.
And inspired you.
The funny, absolutely. That made me pick up the guitar. That was the most important reason, and also, sorry. Every time when I play it, it still. Sucks me in, basically, It's got such a special vibe about it that there's a little bit of melancholy in it and a little bit of soothing qualities, and at the same time his playing is amazing. And to think that he was 24, 25 or something when he recorded that song and wrote that song.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy must have been from a different planet.
When it comes to Hendrix, I agree with you, definitely. I think he definitely was, So we're talking with Adrian Vandenberg here. The album is Vandenberg, the return of the Vandenberg name after many, many years. Album coming out late May on Mascot Records, May 29th to be exact. Of course, we're living in such turbulent times now with the virus and everything. How are you going forward right now?
Well, logically, when this whole virus took over the world as a hostage, basically. My first reflex was to postpone the release of the album, and I talked to my manager about it and to my record company. And when we started brainstorming, we realized that it would be actually a good step to just stick to our release date because the whole world was going to push back their records, and since you wouldn't really be able to tell when this corona thing was going to be over. We thought, we might as well release it and make the best of it. And the advantage right now is what we couldn't really tell at the time when we made this decision is that people are much more on the web, of course, because everybody's home. Most people are home, and people look for entertainment and stuff. And it felt nice to put out a record to try to to entertain people and to let people know we exist, and that we're really anxious to start touring, which we would have started to do in about a week. We were supposed to start the European tour, and obviously it's not going to happen, but now it's pushed back to November, December, and if that can't happen, then it's going to get pushed back to February next year,
Yeah.
It's kind of strange, but at the same time, you try to make the best out of it, and everybody's in the same boat, so to speak. So yeah.
It's almost like, no pun intended, you have like a captive audience right now. You might as well take advantage of it and put the album out. And
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Adrian, I always like to end my interviews with just some fun questions. I know you've been busy doing interviews all day, so I'm hoping these are questions you might not have even been asked. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
That was actually my cowboy gun.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cowboy. Later, when I was growing up, and in the toy store, I saw a rifle, plastic, of course, that had like white, where normally the wood would be white, where the wood would be brown, of course. In this case, it was white plastic, and the barrel was metallic blue, and it looked so cool. I thought, man, I'm going to be such a cool cowboy with a gun like that. So actually, I've got it hanging in my studio room because I found it at my parents' place a couple of years ago.
Very, very cool.
And it brings back memories. I was about 4 years old or something,
Excellent, excellent. Let's stick with your childhood for one more. If you could go back in time and eat one of your childhood meals that your mom made, what would you have her make?
Ooh, French fries.
French
with
fries?
Lots of mayonnaise.
Okay, favorite superhero?
That would be Batman, because sometimes I wake up and I still wish I was Batman.
All right. And we'll go in the opposite direction now. Favorite villain?
Staying in line, that would probably be the Joker.
All right. Let's see. Fastest you've ever been in a car? I love to ask guys from overseas this question because it's usually pretty fast.
That would be 280 kilometers.
Wow.
Per hour.
What were you in?
In a Porsche.
Wow, that's amazing. Would you rather?
It's almost flying.
What's that?
Yeah, it was almost flying.
I believe it. I hope you were on a very long straightaway with no turns or anything going on.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, French highways.
Would you rather be stranded on a deserted island alone or with someone who never stops talking?
Ooh, probably alone.
All right. And this is the one we have the most fun with, and I was asking this long before the biopics all came out. If they were to make a movie of your life, what actor would you have play you in the movie? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Let's see. I've got a couple of favorites. Jack Nicholson is probably my favorite actor, but he would not be the right guy for my movie. And in that case, it would probably have to be. Let's see. It would probably have to be Brad Pitt, I suppose.
Okay. There
or Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp would be the guy.
Very cool. Yeah. Last question, just to sort of get back into musical realm. Say you leave after a gig and there's a young man or a young lady standing in the rain, outside the door, and you come out and they say, Mr. Vandenberg, when I grow up, I want to be a famous guitarist in a rock and roll band. What advice would you give them to get them there, to send them on their way?
To stay true to yourself and follow your heart. I mean, it may sound corny, but that's what I did, and I never expected, turning out the way I did. I didn't have the illusion to be able to tour all over the world and people would like my music and stuff. I never ever thought that would happen. So, and it happened because I stayed true to myself and played the music that I feel like I want to play and it comes from my heart and stuff. So that's the ultimate thing to do, because there's so many great musicians in the world, and there's so many also that sound very similar, because everybody follows, like for instance, like beginning guitar players. They have their lessons from world-class guitar players online, and for my feeling, a big part of them just go for the technique. And technique is really interesting for a couple of minutes, but after that you want to somebody play with soul, with feeling and stuff, and that's what always be my goal,
Excellent. Great answer. Chatting with Adrian Vandenberg here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Once again, that album Vandenberg, going to be out May 29th on Mascot Records. I have heard an advance copy. It is a fantastic body of work, Adrian. I'm excited to have the rest of the world hear it as well.
Me too. Me too.
Take care, my friend. Best of luck to you going forward, and thank you very, very much for your time. It's been a thrill.
Oh man, thanks for having me, and I hope to shake hands somewhere on the road one day.
That would be fabulous. Have a good evening.
Great.
Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks. Take care, man.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.